It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Every year, a perennial favorite at PTA gatherings is on parenting. As a teacher, professor for over 25 years, I have often been called upon to give talks on parenting. And why am I doing it again? Well, dear friends, in today's context, where students, children have become a main problem for their parents, especially with all the technological advances that they engage in, I felt it appropriate once again to talk on parenting. Now, many things can be said about parenting. Am I here to tell you all about it? Not at all. I have just condensed it into 9 general points affecting children of all ages. Based on my personal experience, my experience with my one and only child, based on my reading and observation, and my sharing with parents. Mind you, most of these points are known to you, but they bear repetition. I have no ready-made solutions, since every parenting situation is unique. So, take whatever helps you. Let's look at my first point. You will agree with me that all of us parents want our children to shine. But how will that happen if there's no prayerful and peaceful atmosphere in the home? Let's look at what Psalm 128 verse 3 says. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. Thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord. Friends, mine was a single family unit of 4 persons, and I performed well in school. Until dire circumstances brought relatives to live with us. That began a downward spiral in my performance. There were arguments, fights, pettiness, all of it brought on by envy and jealousy. There was abuse, especially verbal, physical, and emotional, which told on my scholastic performance and my emotional growth. Yes, dear parents, take care of your home environment. Try to avoid fights with your spouses, with your in-laws, with the elders in the home, and especially avoid these in front of your children. You may never fully recognize what your children go through when they are listening to your fights. And then you may question their falling grades. You may even blame their teachers. Some children resort to suicides. You've definitely heard of an iceberg. It is said that only about 1/10 of it is above the surface of the water, while the remaining 9/10 are under the surface of the water. No wonder the Titanic hit one such iceberg, and you know the result. That's what it is with our children. Above surface, on their face, they have a smile. But within their hearts, one never knows what they are going through. Some of them become unruly and aggressive. And of course, teachers and parents blame them, shout at them. Many such children think of running away and landing as street children, and you know what happens to them. We as parents and teachers blame these bad apples sometimes. But the reality could be that they are good in their hearts, just crying for love and attention. Let's look at my second point: appreciation and applause. What do we appreciate and applaud in our children? Obviously, their courteous behavior, their good behavior, honesty and integrity, their helping out in the home in various chores, the attention that they pay to their studies, their homework. All this can be applauded and praised. In addition, their participation and the efforts they put into curricular and co-curricular events and activities, whether resulting in success or not. I remember my own daughter. I encouraged her to participate, and whether she won or lost, we always went for a masala dosa and a lassi. I'm sure if she's listening to this, she will have a smile on her face. Parents, my third point is on responsibility. Most parents will hold themselves responsible for the academic and scholastic development of their children. Only that. Sadly, value education, moral and religious development is on their periphery, if at all. Or they leave it to catechism classes and school teachers. The truth is that it is a joint responsibility of parents, teachers, and society. You must have heard this phrase, values are caught as well as taught. Let's look at what Proverbs 22 verse 6 has to say. Train children in the right way, and when old, they will not stray. How true. Let there be no contradictions between values taught and values practiced. Taught maybe in the home itself. A woman complained to her child that she was telling lies all the time. And then suddenly the phone rang and she told her daughter, if it is Auntie so-and-so, say I am not at home. And this innocent child picked up the phone and said, Mum has told me to say that she is not at home. Yes, friends, we teach our children one thing and the practice is often different. Example speaks louder than words. A friend of mine driving his car with his teenaged son suddenly had a vehicle cut in front of him, and as was his practice, he let out some bad words. A few days later, it happened again, and guess what? This time it was his son who let out those expletives. Yes, dear parents, our children imitate our example. Now, where are values taught? As a child, growing up, I remember we had a dining table and all of us sat around it and ate our meals. We chatted, we shared experiences. Sadly, that practice seems to have disappeared. Let's bring it back again. So, let us teach our children values around the dinner table, maybe based on news items of the day, or if some have the habit of sitting in front of the TV after the meal, then when there are advertisements or serials that are debatable, discuss it with your children. I remember a parent who spoke of the Fair and Lovely advertisement and told the child, it is these businesses that want to encourage Fair and Lovely. Be grateful to God for the color of your skin. And then there are those Saas Bahu or mother-in-law, daughter-in-law serials, sometimes real crass. We need to teach our children the reality situation. Friends, responsibility should never be shirked through misplaced compassion or enabling and spoiling our children by doing their homeworks for them or their projects, or even confusing love with condoning the child. What does Sirach, verse 1 and 2 from chapter 30 say? It says, the man who loves his son makes use of the rod. More commonly we speak of spare the rod and spoil your child. Verse 2 says, the man who corrects his son will reap benefits. Let's not hesitate to do so when necessary. I remember a friend, I used to go around schools supervising lessons of my B.Ed trainees. And the son of this friend happened to be in that class and was 99.99% distracted. And even though I tried to calm him down, nothing happened. I went over to the father and I said, just take care of your son. And I was shocked when the father retorted, Arey, I was no better when I was in school, so can I expect my son to be better? I kept my mouth shut. Why? Because I knew what would be the outcome. That child turned out to be worse than his father, a drug addict, and today is just sponging on his parents with no responsibilities. My fourth point, dear parents, is empowerment. If you ask parents whether they believe in empowerment of their children, they will most probably say, certainly. I want my child to shine and become like me, a doctor, an engineer, and what have you. Or they will push their children to fulfill their own unfulfilled desires and ambitions with disastrous consequences. Another friend of mine approached me in church after the Sunday Mass and asked if I would speak to the principal of a reputed college and get admission for his son into the science stream at the higher secondary level. I told him bluntly, I'm sorry, I don't do these things. Then out of curiosity, I said, why don't you go yourself and apply? I'm sure your son will get admission. He said, no, he's just got 44%. I said, with 44%, you want your son to do the science stream? How will he manage? He'll manage. The parent was upset with me. He sent his son to Manipal or Belgaum or wherever it is on capitation fees. That child was a square peg in a round hole. Do I need to say further what the future was for him? The truth is that there are many other more relevant ways to empower your children. For instance, by your belief in them. Once again, pardon me if I give you examples of my daughter, but they bear repetition here. My daughter, being on the plumper side, wanted to do Bharatnatyam, the Indian classical dance. And I had a smile on my face because I said, I've only seen slim girls doing Bharatnatyam. But I said, if you want to do so, go ahead. I encouraged her. And she did a 3-year course. And I'm happy to say she performed well. On other occasions, I helped her build up her self-esteem. As part of the physical education, they had to do the high jump. And my poor daughter, again, could not jump beyond a very low level. And she would often come to me and cry. So I said, okay, I'll take leave one day. We'll go to your school. I took a piece of string and I put it across the 2 poles at the lowest level. And I said, jump. She jumped. And I took it higher, jump, then higher, jump. So this way, in successive steps, I taught her, you can do it. And she's ever grateful to me because she would have failed in physical education if she had not done the high jump. Occasionally, we need to give our children extrinsic forms of motivation, by which I mean certain simple rewards. However, more important than extrinsic is intrinsic motivation, where the child is encouraged to do something because of the love of it, because of the satisfaction he gets from it, or simply by participating. Yes, friends, encourage participation, encourage intrinsic motivation in your children. Let me caution you, however, let there not be any gross mismatch between the reward given and the performance of the child. A relative's son who was doing pretty badly at the SSC was promised by his Gulfi father a scooter, one of the latest models, only if he could just pass. And of course the boy got 35% and demanded that scooter. For me, that was ridiculous. What was the performance and what is the reward? Yes, friends, let there be a balance in what we give. My 5th point is on nurturing, tender love and care, as we call it, TLC. Psalm 8, verse 4 gives us a clear picture of how God nurtures you and me. It says, "What is man that you keep him in mind? Mortal man that you care for him?" For me, that is what nurturing is. God nurtures us. But in our own day-to-day lives with our children, nurturing goes beyond providing food, clothing, and shelter. It involves caring for, protecting, and encouraging your growing children. I remember my pet dog delivered 4 puppies, cute little things. And one of them was very naughty. And the mother would growl at the pup. And if the pup didn't listen, she would grab it by the scruff of its neck and bring it back. Now, why did she do that? I think it was all part of God-given nurturing in animals. How much higher should it be in us as parents? In today's world, nurturing also involves protecting your children from sexual exploitation by elders in the family, by neighbors, by servants, etc. Today, sadly, many parents have to engage in part-time parenting, by which I mean neither of the parents is available for a longish period of time and the child is alone. So when they come back, the parents are busy with cooking, cleaning, washing, etc., and there's hardly any time for the child. John chapter 10 verse 11 reminds us, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. Yes, parents, sometimes we may have to make some tough decisions whether both husband and wife should work. And especially if the husband is well off in his salary, I personally think the wife should be at home. But again, this is debatable. I don't want to have any argument with anyone. I just want to suggest that we sometimes need to be good shepherds to our children 24/7. So what does this involve? It involves giving our children priority, or as they say, quality time, taking interest in their studies, their hobbies, sacrificing our own needs for financial or career advancement. Once again, I remember a relative had a very good job in Bombay, but for whatever reason, he gave it up and decided to go to the Gulf. The day he was leaving, one of his daughters fell from the school swing and broke her hand. But the father said, I cannot wait, I've already booked my tickets, and he went. A couple of years later, the eldest daughter, without any parental control because the mother was weak, she got involved with a non-Christian boy, eloped from home, and you know the consequences. My dear friends, as part of nurturing, advise your children on the dangers of bad company. Advise them on the proper use of electronic devices, mobiles, the internet. Then there are innocent sounding websites which our children may get into and discover that they are pornographic sites. And once they get hooked, it becomes difficult for them to give up. Parents, monitor your children. Prepare them for peer pressures when they go for birthday parties, picnics, movies. Prepare them not to engage in taking alcohol, drugs, or engage in sex. It will be to their detriment. Prepare them to identify and avoid predators and fake friends on Facebook. And of course, in the real world, stalkers and rapists. As parents, you might sometimes have to take a stand and monitor your children, lay boundaries, control viewing of TV and use of the laptop by demanding that everything is in the sitting room and not in the private bedroom of the child. Take away mobiles if need be. On the other hand, encourage greater external shows of love and affection. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. It is said, a hug a day keeps many a problem away. So parents, hug your children, not just when they are babies, but even as they grow up. and daily bless them as they leave home for school or college. You never know whether you will see them again or whether they will see you again, but your blessings will be remembered. What is the benefit of this? Children who feel loved, wanted, appreciated, and accepted at home will generally not seek such love and affection elsewhere. A warning, dear friends. My own aunt, removed several times, would curse her sons and say, "Why were you born?" And she would, in Konkani, you have some very juicy bad words. And she would say this loud and clear for everyone to hear. And those two sons died early in life as persons of no value to themselves because the mother gave them no value.